We continue now at the top of Daf Yud Aleph Amud Aleph and Meseches Eruvin. This is Eruvin Daf 11a. The Gemara here, Tzuras HaPesach works. Let's say you have a mavoi that's too high. We know that it works if the entrance is too wide. And also the reverse question, what happens if you have an amalsara, which generally works if the mavoi is too high? Can that work if the mavoi is too wide? The Gemara says, if chamai. Do these things work in reverse? And the Gemara says, Tashma will bring a proof. The Tanya, because we learned in a Braisa, Mavoi shehu gavoa me'esrim amo yemayit. If you have a Mavoi that's higher than 20 amos, it has to be lowered. V'im yeshlo tzuras ha'pesach eino tzorech l'mayit. And if it has a tzuras ha'pesach, you don't need to lower it. So it seems clear from this Braisa that a tzuras ha'pesach does work if the entrance is too high. Amalsara barachvo mai. Okay, so what about if you have an amalsara by the width? Is that going to work? Just like it works by the height. Tashma will bring a proof. The Tanya we learned in a Braisa, Mavoi shehu gavoa me'esrim amo yemayit. If you have a Mavoi that's too high, more than 20 amos, you have to lower it. V'harachov me'eser yemayit. And if it's wider at the entrance than 10 amos, you have to make it less. V'im yeshlo tzuras ha'pesach eino tzorech l'mayit. If it has a tzuras ha'pesach, you don't need to worry. V'im yeshlo amalsara eino tzorech l'mayit. And if it has an amalsara, you don't need to make it smaller. You also do not need to worry. My lava seifa. So the Gemara says this line about the amalsara, isn't that going on the end of the Braisa? Meaning if it's too wide, you don't need to worry if you have an amalsara. The Gemara says lo aresha. No, it could be going on the resha. In other words, the amalsara might be working for the height, and the tzuras ha'pesach is working for the width. So this Braisa does not prove the question. Masni le Rav Yehuda lechia barav kame de Rav eno tzarech l'mayit. Rav Yehuda learned or taught to Chia Barav in front of Rav that when you have a Tzuras HaPesach, you don't need to worry about the width, even if it's too wide. At the entrance, it's not a problem. Amar Le, so Rav said back, Asni Tzarech L'mayit. No, you should teach that, in fact, Tzuras HaPesach does not work. Rav held that a Tzuras HaPesach does not work, unlike the opinions we quoted before. Amar Rav Yosef says, Midivrei Rabbeinu Nilmad Chotzer Sheruba Psachim V'chalonos. Rav Yosef says that from Rav we learn out that what happens if you have a chotzer, not talking about a mavoi here, but you have a courtyard which is majority has either doors or windows. Eino niteres b'tzuras ha'pesach. A tzuras ha'pesach is not going to allow that. Meaning, let's say you have a bunch of small openings, they're not large enough to be considered breaches, but in total, you have paretz meruba la'omid. You have more open space than closed off space. You can't solve that problem with tzuras ha'pesach. Once you have more open space than closed space, you have a problem. Tzuras ha'pesach is not going to solve that problem. And he explains why. My time, what's the reason? Ho'il v'yoser me eser oser b'mavoi. Since we know that if you have an entrance more than 10 wide, that's a problem by a mavoi. And we know that when it comes to a chatzar, what's a problem if you have parts maruba ala omid? If you have more open space than you have closed off walled area. So we know that both of those things are problems. And ma yoser me eser ha'oser b'mavoi eino niter b'tzuras ha'pesach. If Rav holds that when you have an entry of more than 10 amos by a mavoi, tzuras ha'pesach doesn't work, af paretz maruba ala omid ha'oser b'chatzar. So too, if you have parts maruba ala omid by a chatzar, Eino niter b'tzuras ha'pesach. Tzuras ha'pesach will not work for that as well. So basically, Rav Yosef is deriving chatzar from mavoi. He's saying if Rav says a halacha that tzuras ha'pesach doesn't work by mavoi, we can assume that that will not work by chatzar as well. Gemara says, how do you know? Mali yoser me'eser ha'oser b'mavoi shekein lo itarta bo etzel pasei biros l'Rabbi Meir. Gemara says when it comes to the din of yoser me'eser, so yoser me'eser by a mavoi, that also is a problem by pasei biros. Again, pasei biros is when you build the L-shaped corners around the well to render that whole area Rosh Hashanah. Now you can take water out of the well and not have a problem of drawing from the well, which is Rosh Hashanah, into the Rosh Hashanah. You kind of surround it with these halachic mechitzos. But according to Rabbi Meir, you're not allowed to have yoser me'eser by pasei biros. So yoser me'eser is something that's a little more strict. Tomar beparetz meruba la'omed, but when it comes to the problem of paretz meruba la'omed, ha'oser b'chatzar, which is a problem by chatzeros, shekein hitarta, it's al pasei biros, l'divrei hakol, everyone agrees that pasei biros can be paretz meruba la'omed. That's not a problem. So maybe paretz meruba la'omed is less of a problem in general, as we find that it's less of a problem by pasei biros, and therefore maybe by paretz meruba la'omed, you could use a tzuras ha'pesach, even though that doesn't work by yoser me'eser, by a mavoi. Gemara now says, Lema Messiah, let's try to bring a proof to his position. It says, Defanos halolo sharubon psachim v'chalonos. It says, let's say you have walls that are majority doors and windows. Mutter, that's fine. Uvilvad sheye omed meruba ala paretz. So it's talking about these walls that are by a chutzner, and it says as long as you have more closed off space than open space. So first of all, the Gemara says, Sharuban Salkadaitach, how can it be majority doors and windows, but you have more closed off space? If it's majority openings, then it's majority open space. Gemara says you have to change the text. Ella, rather, the way it should read is, Ema Shariba Bahen Psachim V'chalonas. If you have many doors and windows in this chutzner, Uvilvad Shiyeh Omen Merubal parts. As long as you have Omen Merubal parts. In other words, what is this Brisa basically saying? The Brisa is basically saying, even though you have a bunch of doorways and windows and you have Tzuras HaPesach, it doesn't work. You still need to have Omen Merubal parts. So that's a riot to what Rav Yosef says. What did Rav Yosef say? Rav Yosef says that from Rav we understand that when you have a problem of Paras Merubal Omed, Tzuras HaPesach does not help. And that seems to be the case over here in this Brisa as well. When you have these walls which have Tzuras HaPesach, it doesn't help if you have parts Merubal Omed. That's why the Brisa says, Uvilvad Sheye Omed Merubal parts. So the Gemara says not necessarily a proof. Amar Rav Kahana says, Kitanya, what's that Brisa talking about? It's talking about Bepische Shimoy. It's talking about doors that have, they're flawed doorways. They're flawed Tzuras HaPesach. What does that mean? My Pische Shimoy. What does it mean exactly that it's Shimoy? Pligi bar Rav Rechume Rav Yosef. That's a machlokas between Rav Rechume and Rav Yosef. Chad Amar de Leslo Shakfi. One says, Rashi explains that Leslo Shakfi means that the posts, the walls of these doorways, they're jagged edges. Some stones are sticking out, some are not sticking out. It's not a good Tzuras HaPesach, so therefore it doesn't work. The Chad Amar de Leslo Tikra. Some say there's no roof over these doorways. These are entry points. Rashi has a picture over here, but there's no roof. It doesn't have a real Tzuras HaPesach. Rashi says, She'in klum binyan l'malam min HaPesach. There might be nothing above the entryway. Ela kol ha'kosel chola kepesach ad rosho kazev. Tzuras Pesach she'amru kana mikan v'kana mikan v'kana al gabein. A good Tzuras HaPesach has to be a pole on each side with a pole on top. You don't have that over here. So in other words, in this Brisa, which was saying that parts Merubal Omed is a problem, may not have been talking about a situation with good Tzuras HaPesach. But if you had good Tzuras HaPesach, maybe that would be effective. So it's not necessarily a proof to what Rav Yosef was saying. Gemara says, V'av Rav Yochanan savar lo l'hadi Rav. Rav Yochanan also agrees with Rav that Tzuras HaPesach does not work. Amar Ravin bar Ravad Amar Rav Yitzchak, because Ravin bar Ravad said in the name of Rav Yitzchak, Ma'aseh ba'adam echad mi bikas beis chorsan. There was a story with a certain person from the valley of Beis Chorsan, shenoatz dalid kundisin ba'arba pinos hasadeh. He stuck like 4 poles in the 4 corners of the field. Umasach zemura aleim, and he ran a vine around them, so he basically surrounded the area with Tzuras HaPesach. Uba ma'aseh lefnei chachamim v'yitiru lo le'inyan kelayim. He came to the Chachamim and they said it's fine for Kilayim purposes. In other words, this is considered a wall as far as Kilayim, and if you plant one thing on one side of this Tzuras HaPesach and a different vegetation on the other, you're not going to have a problem of Kilayim. Rashi says, Linyan Kilayim, Shem yesh gefanim b'soch hakundasin. If you have vines growing within this area that's surrounded by Tzuras HaPesach, muter lezroa samach len chutz lemechitza. You're allowed to plant other things outside the area of the mechitza. Kedetanan hayageter b'ntayim zeh samach legeter mikan v'zeh samach legeter mikan. We have a Mishnah which says you're allowed to do this when you have a fence. So the Chachamim said, as far as Kilayim is concerned, you have a good mechitza. Reish Lakish said, just like we permit it by Kilayim, we permit it by Hilchas Shabbos as well, meaning you can carry in this area, you have Tzuras HaPesach. Rabbi Yochanan says, L'Kilayim hitirulo. When it comes to Kilayim, that's fine. L'Inyan Shabbos lo hitirulo. But the Chachamim never said it was fine. As far as Shabbos is concerned, we're more strict. So now the Gemara wants to clarify how are these Tzuras HaPesachs working? B'may askin, and what's the case? If the case over here is that the vine that you ran was not run on top of the poles, but it was attached to the side of the poles, which wouldn't be a good Tzuras HaPesach at all, that's a problem. Rav Chizda says a Tzuras HaPesach that's made in that manner, if the pole or the vine is not on top of the other poles, it's kind of attached to the side of the poles, that's not good anyway. So there's no way that would work for anything. Ela al Gabon, obviously, rather you have a good Tzuras HaPesach here. He made a legitimate Tzuras HaPesach, which was 2 poles and the vine running on the top of the poles. Uvemai. And what is he? What's the spacing here? How big are these Tzuras HaPesachs? Ilema be'eser. If we're talking about where it's only 10 amos or less, B'hol Emer Rabbi Yochanan b'Shabbos lo. Would Rabbi Yochanan say a Tzuras HaPesach doesn't work for 10 amos or less? Elalav be'eser me'eser. Obviously, the area here that this Tzuras HaPesach is covering is larger than 10 amos. And what do we have over here? We have a machlokus. Reish Lakish says that the Tzuras HaPesach works. Rabbi Yochanan says the Tzuras HaPesach doesn't work. Rabbi Yochanan seems to agree with Rav that the Tzuras HaPesach doesn't work if the entry is more than 10 amos. Gemara says, lo, no, li'olam be'eser. Could be that it was only 10 amos. U'minatzad, and actually the way it was set up was, it was set up minatzad. You attach the vine at the sides of these poles. U'v'der Rav Chisda kamiflagi. And the machlokas actually was within Rav Chisda. In other words, if I make a Tzuras HaPesach and that top pole or the vine is attached to the sides of the poles, that they're arguing whether that's effective. Rashi here says, Uvidir Rav Chisda pligi, Reish Lakish less later Rav Chisda. Reish Lakish just doesn't hold like Rav Chisda and holds that that's a perfectly good Tzuras HaPesach for both Kilayim and Shabbos. For Rabbi Yochanan is later Rav Chisda, but Rabbi Yochanan says it's not a good Tzuras HaPesach. He holds like Rav Chisda. Because Savar Ki Amar Rav Chisda l'Shabbos, but Rabbi Yochanan says that halach of Rav Chisda was only applied to Shabbos. Avol Kilayim afilu min atzad have Tzuras HaPesach, Tzuras Pesach. But when it comes to the laws of Kilayim, even Rav Chisda would agree. Everyone would agree that's a good Tzuras HaPesach. The Shabbos chomer mi Kilayim, because Shabbos is stricter than Kilayim. So maybe they're arguing about Rav Chisda. You don't have a proof that they're arguing about Yeser Meyeser. Maybe they're arguing about a case where it's just 10 amos, and they're arguing about whether or not this is a good Tzuras HaPesach for Hilchas Shabbos. Gemara says, V'rami de Rabbi Yochanan ad Rabbi Yochanan, V'rami de Reish Lakish ad Reish Lakish. We have a contradiction within Rabbi Yochanan, and we have a contradiction within Reish Lakish. The Yomar Reish Lakish, Mishum Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Chanina, because Reish Lakish said in the name of Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Chanina, and we'll continue this discussion in the next video on Daf Yud Aleph Amud Beis.